When Iraq was stormed back in 2003, an army of journalists followed. Some 7.5 years later, the war has fallen off the Western media's agenda. So what exactly do ordinary Iraqis think about the declining coverage?
The focus has shifted away. There isn't many opportunities to talk about Iraq.
Different countries have pulled out Iraq, so as soon as they've pulled out, their media's obviously changed direction.
It was within the interest of the government, or the Western government, to cut the media completely, because the devastation that was left behind was not a part of their plan for it to be viewed.
I've got cousins that just arrived from Iraq to London, and they've told me stories I would have never known through the media if it wasn't for them.
War fatigue, danger for journalists, and financial cutbacks are just some of the reasons why the coverage has consistently declined, according to our analysis. But what do some of the media experts and journalists on the ground think about our findings?
The Times puts the cost of its Baghdad correspondent at $1 million a year. You've got to think they're not making that much money.
There's definitely war fatigue, exacerbated by the fact that the American media couldn't tell the American people a story that America was winning this war. It was messy, it was bloody, it was complicated.
I believe really that the reason they've moved away from talking about the war is because there's less British involvement. Now, there's all sorts of dark things you can conclude from that as well. For instance, a worldview that only really values British and American life, or at least, sort of white European life.
There are a myriad of reasons why the Iraq war has faded into the background, but has the Western media really abandoned the story? Here's the final word from our analysts.
I think that this story is diminishing in importance. It's become more complex. It's more about inside politics. The Americans are withdrawing, so necessarily the American media are less interested. And besides, Afghanistan has really taken its place.
For the time being, it's difficult to argue that they're fully engaged with what's going on in Iraq. If you keep on having bombings at the level that we're having now, which is an appalling level, but not enough to get Western media attention, then probably we won't go back to it, unless things fall into proper anarchy.